Hey, yo, what's up, YouTube, man? It's your boy, Action Jackson, man. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the reason why the Dallas Cowboys should fire offensive coordinator Kellen Moore. So before we hop into the video, I would appreciate if you guys would like the video, comment, and share my video with anyone who you think might enjoy my content. Also, if you are new, please subscribe. So, man, just hopping straight into it, man. I think we need to get rid of Kellen Moore, and this is something I've been contemplating on after last year's loss to the Niners, and now I'm thinking about it very heavily coming off of this loss against the Niners, and it's just a common theme that we're having with Kellen Moore, which is really irritating me. And there's a lot of people out in the Cowboy community who do further research into this field in terms of how our offense is, but it's clear. It's when we have a number one option, or we feel like there's a number one option on our team, like Amari Cooper in 2019, 2020, 2021. Yes, we drafted CeeDee Lamb in 2020, but our number one option until CeeDee Lamb became a grown man was Amari Cooper, and we felt like he never got the targets like some of the other number one receivers were getting, like a DeAndre Hopkins, like a Tyreek Hill, like a Devontae Adams. There was just a bunch of times when we felt like there was a lot of people other than our real number one options that are getting the rock. Like last year, just for example, in our playoff game, I felt like Dalton Schultz and Cedric Wilson were getting more targets, and they were getting looked at more than your playmakers like Tony Pollard, CeeDee Lamb, and Amari Cooper. And everyone blames that. That's cool, but I ultimately point that at Kellen Moore. Why aren't you going to your playmakers, and why aren't you getting your playmakers involved, into these game plans for us to win over and take over games? I feel like that's what's not putting us over the edge. There's a bunch of things more than just offensively the reason why we can never go over the edge, but that's one of the main reasons for me, is that it's in games where when Kellen Moore doesn't have a lot of pressure to when there's not a lot of pressure on Kellen Moore, he can coach his butt off. When there's nothing to play for, when there's not, like in the regular season, it's week 3, you're playing the Washington Commanders or you're playing the New York Jets or whatever, and there's not much for you to really do. Kellen Moore's going to call it a great game. He's going to make sure that we're having a balanced offense. He's going to make sure that CeeDee Lamb or whoever our wide receiver 2 is, he's going to make sure they get the ball. We're going to look good offensively. We're going to run the ball, things of that nature. Like, there's just a bunch of backwards things that we do. And you just look at these playoff games ever since he's been our coordinator in 21-22 season, and this now 22-23 season. It seemed like every single time that we get into these playoff games, he puckers up and he doesn't want to give the ball in the hands of our playmakers and find more creative ways of getting our other playmakers open. And what I knew that he wasn't really that great of a coordinator was last year, when you had all the weapons, when you had Amari Cooper, Cedric Wilson, you had CeeDee Lamb, you had Tony Pollard, you had some reminiscence of Zeke, whatever he had left in the gas tank, which wasn't much, but you had Dalton Schultz. So those were most of your playmakers, but your best playmakers on the team last year were CeeDee, Amari, and Tony Pollard. And when you look back on that game, Tony Pollard wasn't utilized at all last year the way he was this year. And CeeDee Lamb, again, wasn't utilized a lot in that Niner game as he was this game. And then Amari Cooper was barely getting targets. Dalton Schultz got bulk of the targets. He's cool, but Dalton Schultz he's not a top of the line tight end. There is a bunch of tight ends I'll take over him. And just name off real quick: Travis Kelce, Dallas Goedert, Kyle Pitts, Darren Waller, Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, if I hadn't already said his name, George Kittle. There are a bevy of tight ends I'll take right now over Dalton Schultz, and that are actual game changers. Dalton Schultz, he's a more athletic Jason Witten. That's somebody I'm throwing to the sticks, and I'm gonna have him backpedal until first down. Like, that's all he is. He's cool, but he's nobody electric. Cedric Wilson, he was fine. As you can tell, he was the 5th string receiver for the Dolphins. But all that to say is that when Kellen has a lot of weapons and he has way too many weapons, he doesn't know how to utilize them. Look at 21. And then now when you look at this year in 22-23, when we had less weapons, he found a way to get Tony Pollard the ball more. He found a way to get Kellen Moore, CeeDee Lamb the ball more. And then he utilized Dak Prescott's leg a little bit, but not as much as that we really wanted to. But I felt like there was a lot of opportunities where he could have used a Kevontae Turpin. Like, although Kevontae Turpin does not have great vision, and we saw that yesterday on some kick returns that he could have potentially had, and punt returns. I felt like we could have used, as soon as Tony Pollard had went down, as a Cowboy fan, and I'm being for real, I knew our chances after that were slim to none. And especially when Dak Prescott threw that interception yesterday, I knew it was going to be really tough for us to dig out of that game. And Kellen Moore didn't make it any easier on you. Neither did Dak, but Kellen Moore made it extremely hard on you. I felt like that's when you could have incorporated Kevontae Turpin more into the offense, because he has that dynamic speed like a Tony Pollard. Not saying we can use Kevontae Turpin in the way that we use Tony Pollard, like on running back or anything like that. But there's a bunch of times when you're running screen plays and you're giving them to Noah Brown or you're giving the CD. Imagine you have nice baby of blocks ahead of Kevontae Turpin, and he utilizes his speed that he has, and he takes it up, and he can get you an easy 35, 40 yards. That definitely could have been something that we could have done that Kellen Moore wasn't thinking about. Like, we could have utilized Kevontae Turpin other than that last second play, which was retarded. And that was another thing. 2 playoff games in a row that you do with the Niners, and you call it dumb plays. You call a quarterback draw in the first time in the wild card in Dallas, and then the second time you do this 7-on-7 flag football call with Zeke Elliott at center. And then the play you drew up, you threw directly to Kevontae Turpin, directly into a Niner defender, and ball game. But like I said, Kellen Moore is backwards. When he has a lot of weapons, he doesn't know how to utilize them. And when he has less weapons, he utilizes them. And then once that one playmaker is gone, it's like our whole offense goes down. And then plus these option routes that we run. And these option routes that we run are stupid, because there's a bunch of times when Dak Prescott feels like, hey, when you have certain leverage on a linebacker or corner, safety, whatever, I felt like if we just go over real quickly in that Bears game, there's a lot of the Bears and the Packers game. Twice when CeeDee Lamb was running routes across the middle, there was times that Dak wanted, instead of CeeDee Lamb sailing up more towards like up the field, he wanted him to cut in a straight line where he can just put it on him. There was a lot of times when those with those option routes, those exactly what they are, options. So you have option depending on whether the safety's holding. If the safety's up high and he's nowhere near you, you have a chance to sit, or you got a chance to keep running that crosser or whatever route there you have going. Down in situations, if it's 3rd and 5 and you got outside leverage on a corner, you can keep going. You can run a comeback route, you can run a stick route, you can run a curl route, you can run a speed in. There's a lot of more philosophical ways, there's a lot of more ways that, you can break that down into it. But those are just little things that I just know somewhat about the option routes that we run here in Dallas, that a lot of those routes are based off of leverage, timing, and things like that. And we run a lot of mirror routes where the left side is doing the same thing as the right side. Like, that's college, high school type plays that Kellen Moore has, which doesn't transform into the NFL. And not only should we get rid of Kellen Moore, I have also a solution of who can step in for Kellen Moore. Once we do, eventually, I feel like if I'm having my GM hat on and I'm getting rid of somebody, Kellen Moore, before we get anybody offensively, a lineman, a tight end, a running back, a receiver, I'm getting rid of Kellen Moore and I'm reinventing this offense. One thing I had to say about Kellen Moore, though, is that, yes, there has been times when he led this team to number 1 offenses, but if you just look at the offenses when he did lead us to number 1 overall, which was 2019, 21, and 22 once Dak Prescott had came back from his injury. Yes, we are labeled statistically year in and year out by Kellen Moore labeled as a number one offense. But once this number one offense goes into other great talented defense, we look like a middle of the pack, bottom half offense, which is weird to me. But that's what I'm saying when it comes to Kellen Moore, and he's not confident. That's one thing I do know is that he's not confident when his brilliance is being matched by another person who's brilliant by like a D'Amico Ryans, a Todd Bowles, whoever a great defensive coordinator is. He's scared. He runs away from what works. And that's another thing. We don't have an identity on this team anymore like how we used to 6-7 years ago. We were a run-first team that ate the clock up, and we played solid opportunistic defense. Now it's like, what are you offensively? Are you going to be a team sometimes where you're going to want Dak Prescott to drop back 35, 40 times? Or are you going to want to turn around and hand the ball off to Zeke and Pollard? We're not like that. We're not a true balanced team, which is what irritates me. So, but another thing as well is that the player-coach connection. Normally, when it's just a regular coach like an Eric Bieniemy to Patrick Mahomes, those guys are nowhere near in age. Eric Bieniemy has been in the league way longer than Patrick Mahomes. He's played and he's been a coach, but also, the difference between a lot of coordinators and quarterbacks is like Kellen Moore was once competing to start the job for the Dallas Cowboys in 2016. He got hurt. Dak Prescott eventually takes Kellen Moore's job and Tony Romo's, becomes the quarterback, and does what he does with Dallas Cowboys. And then eventually we get Kellen Moore to be a quarterback's coach in 2017, 2018. So I was just competing with you. We were teammates. We competed for the job. I beat you out. And then you were my quarterback coach in 2018. 2019, you become my offensive coordinator. So they were once cool and teammates and peers. And now he's your coach. That's like your, I don't really have a great analogy, but that's kind of like your best friend being a general manager at a certain business. Like, you're going to get things done, but you can never reach your guys' full potential, because if you guys are best friends, depending on your relationship, some friends don't want to step over other friends. They don't want to hold them accountable and things like that. And that's where I felt like in this relationship, with this player-coach relationship, is what can Kellen Moore really say to Dak? He can't tell him, hey, you got to do this better, you got to do that better. He will, but the way he's going to say it, his tone, and how he's going to tell Dak Prescott to play better is going to be different than if you were to have an offensive coordinator like a Byron Leftwich or a Frank Wright or a Mike McDaniel, Kyle Shanahan, Eric Bieniemy. It's going to be different when you're having those conversations from a quarterback to coach relationship, because it's different. But that's another thing I feel like that hinders Dak Prescott's ability, is that, one, Kellen Moore doesn't know how to utilize everyone that's on the field. Two, when he does have time to criticize, he can't criticize a player like Dak Prescott. Three, his system is flawed. Everybody knows his system. Everybody has been calling it out for years. Devin White started that out with the it's already been called out before, but everyone knows that this offense isn't scary and this offense isn't creative. The Bucs are the main proponents that were telling people, hey, this offense is not creative and they don't do nothing special. They're just trying to line up. We have no pre-snap motion. We don't do anything to create mismatches or anything like that. And that's just what irritates me about the system. So now, after I let all that frustration out about Kellen Moore and how I felt about him, my replacements, like I said, my solutions of how we bring in other guys who can replace Kellen Moore, and I feel like can bring the best out of whoever we draft / trade for on this offense. Dak Prescott, make him a better quarterback. Yes, Dak Prescott is what he is at year 8. He's going into year 8. It's crazy to say that even as well, because shoot, I remember when he was a rookie, man. But like I said, him coming to year 8, Dak is who he is. He's reached his ceiling. Dak is somebody who cannot carry a football team, man. He's not Mahomes. He's not but Joe Burrow. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not Tom Brady. He's not a guy that's we're gonna drive. We must get this touchdown. Dak Prescott's not that guy. He needs a bevy of talents around him. He needs to be in a system like the Niners. He needs to be in a system like the Eagles, the Chiefs, where they predicate the offense around you and they do specific things to use your talents around you. And Kellen Moore just cannot do it. And there are two coordinators, which I already said their names. One is Byron Leftwich. I want Byron Leftwich to be our offensive coordinator. He was a person in 2019 who led Jameis Winston. They were, I believe, a top 5 offense as well, but Jameis Winston led the league in passing, and I understand. I don't care about passing yards or anything like that, but Jameis Winston became a better quarterback, just a tad bit better once Byron Leftwich had came. Then once they had gotten Tom Brady's already the GOAT when it comes to the quarterback position. Then once you already had him surrounded with talent with Chris Godwin, then he brought in Rob Gronkowski, then he brought in Antonio Brown, already had Mike Evans, and things of that nature. Then you went out there and got Tristan Wirfs and everything like that, predicated that offense around Tom Brady, and that's what I feel like that's what we should do from a front office standpoint, to make sure we're getting better talent around Dak, more for sure talent, not kids around my age who are in their 20s, mid-20s, because you can't expect rookie, second-year, third-year players to play like 10-year, 12-year vets. That's why I felt like the Dallas Cowboys should also do better at. But like I said, Byron Leftwich, he called all the plays in the 2020 Super Bowl on that run that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers went on. Then the year after, 2021, they were still a top 5 offense. Byron Leftwich does a nice job of pre-snap motioning, dictating coverages and where they're going to be. He does really great with the crossing routes. He gets a lot of mismatches. I've seen that before, what he did to us. So I would love to have a Byron Leftwich on our team because he utilizes everybody on the field, and like I already said, he dictates matchups. He's gonna find a way to find your weakest link. He's going to play find the scrub on your defensive side. He's gonna say you're the weak link, whether that's linebacker on receiver, cornerback on receiver, whatever that may be, running back on linebacker. However, Byron Leftwich will get it done, and I would love to have Byron Leftwich in this offensive scheme, and especially he can relate to a Dak Prescott. They both play quarterback. Byron Leftwich was nowhere near as good as Dak Prescott, but still, just being in the league and being around talent like Tom Brady and everything like that, I feel like he can do really well with that with the Dak Prescott. So that's one. That would be my first option. My second option would be hiring Frank Reich. If he does not get head coaching positions and he turns out to be a Dan Quinn, like where Dan Quinn, after he got fired after our game in 2020 during that COVID year, that where he, basically Dan Quinn was blackballed of a head coaching position, so he had to reinvent himself and he had to prove himself that he was eligible to be a head coach again. And once he took that year off in 2020 and he came back in 21 with the Dallas Cowboys, led the league in turnover differential in 21 and in 22. We both led the league those years in turnovers, and we were both top 5 and top 10 in sacks in both years in 21 and 2021 and 22, 23. So I felt like that's what, if Frank Reich does not get any head coaching positions and he has to prove himself by reinventing himself, and then he comes to a team like the Dallas Cowboys and he introduces his RPO scheme, and I love what he can do as well because he worked with the Carson Wentz, back when Carson Wentz was that guy with Philadelphia. And then once he got his head coaching job, I believe in 2019, when Frank Reich got his head coaching position at Indianapolis, the Colts still were a top offense as well. They were able to move the ball, and then they were run heavy oriented like us. They had a really nice offensive line in Indianapolis, and they used that line. They had a lot of great backs. Jonathan Taylor is for one of them, and then they were also running schemes. Also, Frank Reich also took Phillip Rivers to the playoffs with the Colts. And then, Carson Wentz, he did really, Frank Reich did really well with Carson Wentz in 21. So Those are definitely my top two options of who should be our offensive coordinator. And then I don't know the name of this guy. I do not. But if we can get somebody, whether the run game coordinator for the Niners or the pass game coordinator for the Niners, I want somebody from a Kyle Shanahan tree to come in here and be the Dallas Cowboys offensive coordinator. Like I said, I don't know the Niners staff like that. I do not. I know their players and everything like that. I know some of their coaches, but I don't know that offensive coordinator. Like, I need to know somebody who's that run game coordinator, that pass game coordinator. I need somebody of that magnitude. I need a Kyle Shanahan, Mike McDaniel. I need one of them to come on this staff offensively, on our offensive coordinator, and get the best out of Dak Prescott, using his legs more, rolling out the pocket, things of that nature, man. So those are my ideas of when we do, if we let go of Kellen Moore. Those are my two options. It's either Frank Reich. Number one is Brian Leftwich, and then number two, Frank Reich, and three, it's whoever works underneath Kyle Shanahan and knows that offense in and out, and can run a similar idea with us. And that's about it for the video, y'all. My quick words before we do head out and I do my outro. If the Dallas Cowboys, by some odd reason, and they want to keep Kellen Moore, I already know what this offense is going to be, and I can dang near do an offseason preview real quick. I felt like if we keep Kellen Moore, this is what we're going to do. We're probably just going to run it back with CeeDee Lamb, which I have to get into him later. Like I said, he's already that true proven number one, but it's not him personally that I have something with. It's about his contract that's going to come up that we need to talk about soon. But we're going to run it back with CeeDee Lamb. We're going to say, you know what, Gallup was hobbled in 22 coming off that injury. We brought him back way too soon. We're going to bring him back. Hopefully he can be what he used to be in 2019. Then we're going to bring in and say, hey, we drafted Jalen Tobin in the third round. Let's go see what he got, and we're going to give him a lot more reps, and we're not going to get him inactive every other game like how we were doing this year. So if that happens, we keep with Kellen Moore, we're going to have the same problem. We're going to be underutilizing our offensive weaponry. We might win a playoff game, or we might be one and done, or we might be a one playoff game done in the divisional. But the ceiling for this team with Kellen Moore is very, very limited. And I think you can't do much from a developmental standpoint with Dak Prescott. I think the only thing you can do now is just get him better coaching. And yeah, man, that's about it. Hope you guys have a nice day. Stay safe, stay blessed. Have a nice